They call me the boy plunger, the great bear of Wall Street. I've made fortunes and lost them. I've been worth millions, and I've been dead broke. 3 times I built myself back from nothing. And if there's one thing I've learned in all my years of speculation, it's this. The market will teach you the same lesson over and over until you finally pay attention. So let me tell you what it took me a lifetime to learn, what cost me millions to understand. Because if you're going to speculate in stocks, you might as well learn from someone who's made every mistake there is to make. The market doesn't care about your opinion. When I was 15 years old, I started in a bucket shop in Boston. I'd watch the tape, see the patterns, and make my plays. I won so consistently they banned me from every bucket shop in the city. But you know what? I wasn't winning because I was smart. I was winning because I was following the tape. The numbers didn't lie to me. Here's what most people never understand. The market doesn't care what you think. It doesn't care about your analysis, your opinion, or how certain you are. The market is going to do what it's going to do, and your job isn't to predict it. Your job is to read what it's telling you and act accordingly. I've seen brilliant men go broke because they couldn't accept this simple truth. They'd form an opinion about a stock, and then they'd fight the tape to prove they were right. They'd average down on losing positions, convinced the market would eventually see things their way. The market buried them every single time. The tape tells you everything you need to know, price and volume. That's it. Everything else is just noise. Timing is everything. Let me tell you about timing, because this is where most speculators destroy themselves. It's not enough to be right about the direction. You have to be right about the timing, too. I remember once I was absolutely convinced that a certain stock was going to collapse. I knew it in my bones. So I shorted it. And you know what happened? It went up, and up, and up some more. I was right about the direction. Eventually, that stock did collapse exactly as I predicted. But I was too early, and being too early is the same as being wrong when you're trading with leverage. This is what I mean when I say, wait, then strike. The market will give you plenty of opportunities, more than you could ever take advantage of. Your job isn't to trade every wiggle in the market. Your job is to wait for the setup that's so obvious, so clear, that the trade practically makes itself. I've made my biggest money not by being the most active trader, but by being the most patient. I'd watch a stock for weeks, sometimes months. I'd see it building its base, see the pattern forming. And then, when the time was right, when the breakout was confirmed, when the tape was screaming at me that this was the moment, that's when I'd strike. Hard, with conviction. The money is made in the waiting, not in the trading. You can't fight the tape. Here's a lesson that cost me a fortune to learn. When the market is telling you you're wrong, period. It doesn't matter how good your reasoning is. It doesn't matter how smart your analysis is. If the tape says you're wrong, you're wrong. I learned this the hard way in 1907. I'd been bearish on the market, and I was right. I made a killing on the way down. But then I stayed bearish too long. The market turned, and I didn't want to see it. I kept fighting, kept shorting, convinced that my original thesis was still valid. The market taught me a lesson I never forgot. I gave back a huge chunk of my profits because I was too stubborn to admit the market had changed. I was fighting the tape instead of following it. From that day forward, I made myself a promise. I would never argue with the tape again. If my position was losing money, I was wrong. It didn't matter why. The market was telling me I was wrong, and I needed to listen. This is why I always use stop losses. Not because I expect to be wrong, but because I know I will be wrong sometimes, and when I am, I need to get out immediately. Small losses are part of the game. Big losses are inexcusable. The big money is in the big moves. Most traders think the way to make money is to be constantly active. They want to catch every little move, every wiggle in the market. This is a fool's game. The big money is made in the big moves, the trends that last weeks, months, sometimes years. These are the trades that can turn a modest stake into a fortune. But you can't catch these moves if you're constantly jumping in and out of positions. I remember my cotton trade. I started building my position gradually as the trend confirmed itself. And then I sat. For months, I sat. The position went up, it came back down, it went sideways. Every day, people asked me what I thought. Every day there was some news that was supposed to change everything. But I sat. Because I knew the trend wasn't over. The tape was still telling me to hold. And as long as the trend was intact, as long as the market was confirming my position, my job was to do nothing. Just sit tight and let the trade work. That's one of the hardest things for speculators to learn. It's not the buying or the selling that makes you money. It's the sitting tight. I've lost more money trying to pick tops and bottoms, trying to squeeze out every last point than I care to admit. The big money is in the middle of the move, and you can't capture the middle if you're always jumping around the edges. Discipline fails first, then the account follows. You want to know why most traders fail? It's not because they lack intelligence. It's not because they don't have a method. It's because they lack discipline. I've had a method for years. It's not complicated. Wait for the setup. Enter when confirmed. Use stops. Let winners run. Cut losers immediately. That's it. That's the whole thing. But you know how many times I've violated my own rules? How many times I've let a small loss turn into a big loss because I was too proud to admit I was wrong? How many times I've taken profits too early because I was scared of giving back my gains? Every time I've gone broke, it wasn't because my method failed. It was because I failed to follow my method. I let my emotions override my discipline. I let hope, fear, greed, or pride make my decisions instead of the tape. The market will always test your discipline. It will tempt you to break your rules. It will show you opportunities that look too good to pass up. It will create situations where every instinct tells you to hold on to that losing position just a little bit longer. And if you give in, if you let your discipline slip even once, the market will punish you. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. Because once you start making exceptions to your rules, you've stopped following a method and started gambling. Fear and greed, the trader's eternal enemies. Let me tell you about fear and greed, because these two emotions have destroyed more speculators than any market crash ever could. Greed makes you hold winners too long. It makes you add to positions that have already run. It makes you risk more than you should because you're convinced this is the big one, the trade that's going to make you rich. Fear makes you cut winners too early. It makes you hesitate when you should be entering. It makes you exit a perfectly good position because the market had one bad day and you're terrified of giving back your profits. I've felt both these emotions thousands of times, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, every time I've let either one control my trading, I've regretted it. The way to fight fear and greed is to have rules. Ironclad rules that you follow no matter what you're feeling. Your stops aren't suggestions, they're commandments. Your position sizing isn't flexible, it's fixed. Your entry criteria don't change based on how excited or nervous you are. When you're feeling greedy, when you're convinced you need to put everything into this one trade, that's exactly when you need to stick to your position sizing rules. When you're feeling fearful, when every instinct tells you to sell, that's exactly when you need to check your method and see if there's an actual reason to exit, or if it's just your emotions talking. The market doesn't care about your feelings, and your feelings will lie to you every single time. You can't go broke. Taking a profit, but you can go nowhere. People love to say you can't go broke taking a profit, and technically that's true. But let me tell you what else is true. You can't get rich taking small profits either. I've watched traders catch the beginning of massive trends, only to exit after a 5% gain because they were scared of giving it back. They were so focused on being right, on locking in their win, that they missed the real opportunity. Yes, you need to protect your capital. Yes, you need to take profits, but you also need to let your big winners run. Because in this game, you're going to have a lot of small wins and losses. It's the few big wins that make your career. My rule is simple. Cut losses immediately, but give winners room to breathe. If the trend is intact, if the tape is still confirming my position, I sit tight. I don't care if it pulls back 10% from its highs. I don't care if it goes sideways for a week. As long as the trend hasn't broken, I'm staying in the trade. This is psychological torture for most people. They see their unrealized profits shrink and they panic. They exit, happy to lock in whatever they can. And then they watch in agony as the stock continues the trend without them, making the move they originally predicted. The big money isn't made by being clever. It's made by being right and sitting tight. The market will always be there. Here's something that took me years to accept. You don't have to trade every day. You don't have to have a position on all the time. The market will always be there, and opportunities will always come around again. Some of my best trading periods have been when I wasn't trading at all. I'd watch the market, study the tape, wait for my setup. Days would go by, sometimes weeks, with no trades. And people would ask me, "Jesse, what are you doing? Why aren't you trading?" And I'd tell them, I'm waiting for my pitch. You see, in this game, you don't have to swing at every pitch. You can wait for the perfect one. And unlike baseball, there's no umpire calling strikes. You can let 100 pitches go by, and if they're not your pitch, you don't have to swing. The hardest part of trading isn't the trading. It's the waiting. It's sitting there with cash, watching the market move, resisting the urge to do something just because you're bored or because you're afraid of missing out. But this is exactly what separates successful speculators from the ones who blow up. The successful ones know how to wait. They know that forcing trades, trading out of boredom or fear of missing out, is a guaranteed way to lose money.
Learn from your losses.
I've lost millions of dollars in my career. 3 times I've gone completely broke. And you know what? Those losses were the best education I ever received.
Every loss taught me something. Every mistake showed me a flaw in my method or my discipline. And if I was paying attention, if I was honest with myself about why I lost, I came out of it a better trader. The problem is, most people don't learn from their losses. They blame the market or bad luck or manipulation. They make excuses instead of looking honestly at what they did wrong. When I lose money, I ask myself 3 questions. Did I follow my method? If yes, was there a flaw in my method that this situation exposed? If I didn't follow my method, why not? And how do I prevent that in the future? If you can answer those questions honestly, every loss becomes tuition in the greatest education you can get. But if you can't be honest with yourself, if you're always looking for someone or something else to blame, you'll keep making the same mistakes until they destroy you. The market wants to take your money. Let me be very clear about something. The market is not your friend. It's not fair. It's not designed to make you money. If anything, it's designed to take your money and give it to someone more disciplined, more patient, and more ruthless than you are. The market will do everything in its power to shake you out of good positions and trap you in bad ones. It will test your stops. It will fake breakouts. It will chop sideways until you're so bored you exit right before the real move begins. And if you go into this game thinking it's going to be easy, thinking you're smarter than everyone else, thinking you found some secret that nobody else knows, the market will humble you. Fast. I don't say this to discourage you. I say this because you need to understand what you're up against. This isn't a game. This is war. And in war, the spoils go to those who are prepared, disciplined, and patient. My final words. I've been trading for over 40 years now. I've made fortunes and lost them. I've been celebrated as a genius and condemned as a manipulator. I've experienced the highest highs and the lowest lows that this profession can offer. And if I could go back and tell my younger self one thing, it would be this. The market will teach you everything you need to know if you pay attention. Every winning trade, every losing trade, every period of drawdown, every period of abundance, they're all lessons if you're willing to learn from them. Wait for your setup. Be patient. Don't force trades. When you see your pitch, swing hard. Use stops always. Let winners run. Cut losers immediately. Don't fight the tape. Control your emotions. Follow your method. These aren't complicated lessons. They're simple. But simple and easy are not the same thing. These lessons took me a lifetime to learn, and I still have to remind myself of them every single day. The market doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care about your story or your dreams or how badly you need to win. It only cares about one thing. Are you following the rules that lead to success, or are you going to be another casualty? That's the choice every speculator has to make, every single day. Choose wisely. Wait, then strike.